Hello, and thank you for allowing me to present at the 2024 TIDC New England Railroad Symposium. My name is Meredith Slesinger, and I'm the Rail and Transit Administrator at the Massachusetts Department of Transportation. I joined MassDOT in 2020 during the height of the COVID pandemic, which certainly had its challenges. And although the pandemic has eased, challenges persist, albeit new challenges, including those related to workforce, not just in the transportation industry, but across many sectors of our economy. Today, I'll provide an overview of the MassDOT Rail and Transit Division and our projects, and I'll put them in the context of our ability to retain, attract, and procure a skilled workforce, while recognizing this problem is not specific to our corner of the transportation world. So there are four primary divisions within MassDOT, including rail and transit. Since the creation of MassDOT in 2009, MBTA has been part of the organizational structure. However, it operates independently with its own board of directors. MBTA operates Boston-centric transit services, including commuter rail, subway, bus, and ferry modes. MassDOT Rail and Transit is involved with transit services distinct from MBTA services. These include funding and oversight of the Commonwealth's 15 regional transit authorities that provide fixed route and demand response bus service outside of Greater Boston. MassDOT has been proactive in its approach to retaining and hiring staff. Recognizing market trends related to rising salaries in the region, MassDOT has implemented 3 significant pay increases since the COVID pandemic in support of worker retention, including 2 recent 4% salary increases for nearly all positions. Additionally, MassDOT has implemented referral bonus programs and sign-on bonuses of up to $5,000. These programs, along with our proactive HR office, have helped develop and retain our internal workforce. However, our compensation structure is not competitive with the private sector and remains significantly lower than MBTA's. It's hard to compete for talent when those people can walk down the hall and do a similar job for more money. The Rail and Transit Division is one of MassDOT's smaller divisions, with about 25 employees. Of those 25, about 10 are involved in our rail program. Our rail unit has 2 primary roles. One pertains mostly to infrastructure and capital projects in support of maintaining nearly 300 miles of state-owned track. This also includes programs like the Industrial Rail Access Program, or IRAP, that provides funding to enhance the Commonwealth's freight rail network. The second role is planning and managing intercity passenger rail services. This is passenger rail exclusive of the MBTA network that is operated by Amtrak. We've recently branded our intercity rail vision as Compass Rail, passenger rail for the Commonwealth, and I'll talk about that more in a minute. Internally, we utilize internship and co-op programs to develop our workforce. Kevin, pictured here, is a great example of a former intern that has become a valuable member of our rail team. Here's a depiction of the rail network in Massachusetts and neighboring states. MassDOT-owned lines are in green, and we have the responsibility to maintain these lines, with the exception of the Worcester line that MBTA maintains as a user of the line. We are undertaking some work to rationalize the ownership of MassDOT-owned but MBTA-maintained lines. Most of the routine maintenance on state-owned lines are done by freight railroads under an operating agreement. As these railroads have a responsibility to us, it's critical that they maintain a skilled workforce sufficient to execute the necessary work. From our vantage point, we see a trend among several railroads of challenges to maintain a qualified workforce. As workers from the baby boom generation continue to retire, we don't see a commensurate number of workers seeking to take their places. This is probably due to a number of factors. One, while working on a railroad had once been a well-paid, secure job, particularly for those without college degrees, it no longer holds a financial edge over similar types of work. And it can be hard to work outdoors in the cold and in the heat. We hear firsthand how many railroad employees have switched to different industries entirely. Also, a series of mergers and acquisitions among railroad operators have created potential for uncertainty for employees. New ownership that covers a different geography, sometimes leads to shifting staff outside of their typical territories. Lastly, workforce shortages exist among many industries now, and those industries are all competing for employees. Railroads will need to be responsive if they intend to retain and attract employees. We see a reduction in qualified workforce manifest in a few different ways. We track maintenance activities on state-owned corridors, and we can see a drop in production. We've witnessed how railroads will shift their resources to problem areas, often on corridors that are not state-owned. State corridors may receive less attention if their condition is better by comparison. Lastly, when we undertake major capital projects, whether the corridor is state-owned or not, we depend on sufficient railroad resources for activities like flagging and design review, and a lack of qualified workforce can lead to delays. Contrary to routine maintenance, larger capital projects are managed by MassDOT through the use of contractors. We do see a range in quality between projects, and it's directly related to the experience and skill of the given workforce. With recent projects, we have found contractor teams with both inexperienced laborers and inexperienced supervisors. Projects utilizing unqualified staff can lead to delays and events of having to fix problems. At worst, an unskilled workforce can lead to major safety issues. Similar to our problem with railroad operators, contractors often have multiple simultaneous jobs, and the most skilled staff is shifted to more critical sites or jobs that have the potential for more profit. As mentioned earlier, another primary role of our Rail and Transit Division is to manage and expand the Commonwealth's intercity passenger rail network, Compass Rail. Compass Rail captures existing, upcoming, and proposed intercity passenger rail services. The Knowledge Corridor, also known as the Connecticut River Line, is depicted here in green and runs north-south between Greenfield and New Haven, Connecticut. Our existing services include the Vermonter, the Valley Flyer, the Hartford Line, and Northeast Regional Services, all operated by Amtrak. These services take advantage of the significant capital investments made by MassDOT between Springfield and Northfield, Massachusetts. The seasonal Berkshire Flyer is also an existing service from New York City to Pittsfield, which is yellow on the map. The second year of a 2-year pilot concluded in October, and we are evaluating service for 2024. These are all Amtrak-operated state-supported services, and we partner with neighboring states to fund operations. These services have shown quite a bit of success in attracting ridership, especially considering their growth since the pandemic. But workforce shortages have impacted many trips, leading to cancellations and delays. For expansion, we have been advancing 2 primary intercity rail corridors, the West-East corridor between Boston and Albany in blue, and the inland route, which is shown here in red. I'll talk more about the inland route in a minute. The Boston and Albany corridor has been accepted into the Federal Railroad Administration's Corridor ID program that will bring federal support to the route service development plan and future implementation. The program will establish future eligibility for FRA's Federal-State Partnership National Network Grant Program. The overall east-west and north-south services build to the Compass Rail program, with Springfield as the hub. The benefits of Compass Rail are consistent with MassDOT's goals for a safe, comprehensive transportation network that is resilient in the face of climate change. The IIJA signed by President Biden in 2021 includes historic appropriations for FRA programs, including CRISI and the Fed-State Partnership programs that could fund Compass Rail initiatives. To give an example of the scale of the law's investment, the 2021 CRISI program awarded $368 million in projects. The most recent round, post-IIJA, awarded $1.4 billion. The $66 billion for rail overall under IIJA is unprecedented. For comparison, the high-speed intercity passenger rail program that was enacted as part of the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act in 2010 was $10 billion. MassDOT was fortunate to receive an award from the most recent round of CRISI grants. We received $108 million for early actions for the inland route from the FRA in partnership with Amtrak and support from CSX, which owns the right-of-way. Track and signal improvements will allow passenger speeds up to 80 miles per hour, and once complete, will result in 2 daily Amtrak round trips between Boston and New Haven via Springfield, with connections to New York City and beyond. MassDOT is grateful to have been awarded the funds that will enable such an important project, but we are also mindful that 69 other projects in 35 states were also funded, and CRISI is only one of several competitive rail programs. All grantees will be competing for the same resources to plan, design, and build their projects. Our recent experience already shows us that the private market often lacks the skilled workforce necessary to execute both small and large projects, and there are reasons to be concerned that workforce issues could be exacerbated. The IIJA provided substantial funds for rail, but also for highway projects and a variety of other infrastructure projects. We expect that private contractors will position themselves to maximize their resources by focusing on projects that will be most profitable, and those projects are likely to be those that are executed efficiently. To be successful in today's environment, MassDOT must be proactive. Internally, we need to monitor workforce trends and position ourselves to retain good employees and attract employees with promise. In instances where we have deficient workforce resources, we'll have to be clever in how we leverage talent. This could include advancing projects in nearby locations to take advantage of mobilization efficiencies. For work that is bid to contractors, MassDOT will endeavor to be predictable and efficient. By reducing project delays, MassDOT can stay ahead of other projects and can also present attractive projects that are poised to move quickly. We can anticipate that consultants and contractors will have the luxury of choice, at least in the near term, and it behooves us to advertise projects that are set up for success. To conclude my presentation, I'll say that while we are being as proactive as we can at MassDOT, we are facing macro trends in the economy that will continue to make retaining an adequate workforce challenging. Thank you.